I retired at 25, and it sucked. Timmy with the intro. Now, I did post about this a couple of years ago now, and I'm almost 27 in a couple of months' time. This is just something that I realized from doing that, retiring at 25, which is a cool thing to be able to say I did, is that honestly, life didn't have much purpose when I did that. I was a little lost, a little aimless, and whilst I did continue to just do what I was passionate about, as I said I would, it didn't quite feel the same. Like, I was still taking clients, still doing this, still, having fun and enjoying life, but it was like, it's like when old people retire, they tend to lose their North Star, something that's driving them in life and something that is really meaningful to them. And as a result, they normally die. I think the numbers I've heard are like, normally they say you got like 11 years after you retire, before you kick it. And so some people are just like, well, that is not for me at all. And frankly, I get what they're saying, and that is not for me either, obviously. But yeah, it's just this thing where you realize that it's not really what it's about. So it's like that Jim Carrey quote whereby he says, I wish that everyone could have all the success and all the money in the world that they want, that they think they want, so then they can see that that's not what life's really about, or it's not what they truly want. Because these things are all great, but, without purpose, without a mission, without something that we are constantly, the next challenge, the next mountain, we start to stagnate, and stagnation is death, and it does not feel nice. Like, I've had that for the past year and a half or so. Yeah, that side of things. So I guess you could call this an official unretirement post. But I've kind of operated as if I'm not retired anyway for a while. And, it's cool, but it's like with going to the gym, you use it or lose it. So if you allow your mind, your purpose, your spirit to get soft, then you lose it. You lose your purpose. And it's like, if you don't fulfill the purpose that you're given in this life, it just gets given to someone else. And that's definitely what I was finding was happening. It was like, because the approach was so lackadaisical, there was something missing to it. So, well, I actually didn't expect to be saying it this way, but yeah, an unretirement post. Because I think it was cool. I was kind of running away from it, and I felt silly for doing it. If I'm being honest, I felt like, oh, should I go archive the post or delete it? It's still there. Like, I made a couple videos about it. Because I'm like, oh, what a silly thing to say, and then go back on and that, and like, oh, what will people think? These voices in my head were like, they're really your own voices when you do that. But I was telling myself, what would people think that it didn't work out? I was a failure, that he made a stupid move and then did that. Like, oh, why is he still doing this then if he's retired? All these things, all these voices that were really my own inside my head. But yeah, I haven't archived those posts. I did consider it at one stage, archiving or deleting those, but I was like, no, that's part of who I am, part of my brand, and that, or like my personal brand, my page, all of this stuff is like just documenting what I'm doing along the way. And I realized like a big part of it is being willing to show the mistakes or the things that I learn along the way and share them openly, share my thoughts so that others can learn from that, can take inspiration from it, can do whatever they want from it really. But it's just about putting the onus on myself to document my life, the things that I'm doing, the things that I'm learning, and put it out there for it to resonate with whoever it resonates with. And that's honestly something I've always really enjoyed doing. Even if I look at my YouTube, for example, it's like 13 or 14 years old maybe this year, and I've just been posting stuff here and there. But I realized I'm someone who has always loved documenting and like making fun things for myself and doing all of that because it just brings me a lot of joy. So to be able to do that much more openly now with my content, with everything, is quite the blessing. So this era that I'm going through right now is one of gaining a lot of the financial literacy skills that we've talked about. That's potentially a video for another period of time, but by way of this stuff, I'm learning a lot of stuff, like, and you can get pretty far without clear, like, I feel like I don't know that much by way of things, but clearly I know enough to get to a certain point, and just being okay with that is cool. So I really enjoy my life, what I do, my purpose, my calling, my craft. And look, if I'm being honest, I'm going full honest with this stuff, being real vulnerable. I was on the cusp, like maybe a month or so ago, because I'd kind of taken it back upon myself to take more financial responsibility, which I hadn't actually taken on before. So for the past 6 months, it's felt like, whoa, okay, I'm handling all this stuff directly, that normally my wife was. And yeah, I was actually, because of the unretirement thing and all that, I was thinking of getting a job and that kind of thing. And I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that. I was like, I like building stuff, I like making stuff. So it's like, and I know that this is going to make it regardless, but it was also coming from that place of like, oh, you know, potentially a bit of a lack of faith. And, but I think a lot of it did come from, you know, just like a lack of purpose, like still considering myself retired in a way. Yeah, but now we're just putting this stuff out there, and it's all well and good. Like, if I'm being honest, things are still going well financially. They've actually improved since that retirement post. Passive income's all gravy. All these things are just going well. And yeah, but it's just like, life is more than just those things. That is a very important aspect to life, and to truly be able to have impact and do this, I've realized recently that, like, something I've been grappling with a bit is realizing that it's a good thing and okay for me and my family and those around us to make good, vast, you could say, amounts of wealth, because you can have much more impact. And even that, it allows me to do this more fully, to give more fully in this way, and to receive more fully as well. And you can't truly give unless you're okay with receiving, or you will limit what you can give. And by giving, I mean, like, yes, wealth, but also wealth, love, energy, all these kind of things. You have to have them in order to give them, you know. And I got Zeke sitting here now, making it look a bit like I'm naked. Sup, buddy? Yeah, buddy. Yeah. My little man. Sitting here, big time chilling. Yeah, something that kind of has come with this as well, that I've been talking to my wife about, is like, even with, I used to hear this and I kind of understood it, didn't really agree with it, but the idea of like, you can't really love other people fully, or other people can't fully love you unless you love yourself. And I was like, that's so weird. I don't agree with that, was my initial thing. But as I go on more, I'm like, yeah, that's a big part of it. And leading a fulfilling life, doing what you're passionate about, being willing to take those risks is something that is really important for a meaningful life as well. I think I wrote some stuff down this morning. Well, and the thing is, with that, it's like, it's really important to keep growing, to keep doing that side of things, and keep doing the things that work well in order to keep becoming more. Because if you don't, then you start to stagnate, you start to die, you lose your way. It's like with journaling, I've heard Matthew McConaughey talking about when you journal, and that, like, a lot of the time people will only do it when things are not good. They're like, oh, here's how I'm feeling, I got to express myself, dear diary, that kind of thing. And I've found this as well. Like, I would kind of do it in those periods of time, and then things would go well, like be going well, and then I would just stop writing, because I'd be like, oh, things are good, I don't need to say anything. But yeah, how tall am I? I'm 6'1", 187 centimeters. Yeah. So when things were going well, I wouldn't necessarily do it, but it's a really important thing to do, because then it's like you're grateful. Well, you are being grateful for everything that you have as well, and you can build more as a result of that. And something for me is being okay with building more as well, because part of what I've realized on my money journey so far is like, I actually hadn't until recently been okay with actually directly receiving large amounts of wealth or anything like that. Like, it was fine for me when it was done through someone else, when it didn't feel like my money, when it was like, oh, this is like, it's through my wife or through something else, some other business. But if it was directly coming to me, I couldn't actually handle it, and I would throw it away. So that, I think that's also where some of that retirement stuff came from. I was like, it's too much. Like, we're building too much. It's too big for me to feel safe handling. And this is a weird thing to hear, but if you've made large amounts of wealth, I know you can resonate with what I'm saying. You can feel like it's not yours. It feels so foreign and so surreal that you want to get rid of it. And sometimes you will. Like I kind of have with some of that stuff, but fortunately, and this is one thing about having a great team, I wasn't really able to, because it's like, it's pretty smart the way I've set this stuff up. Well, I feel like I've stumbled into this stuff, but I don't touch most of the money that we make. Well, up until recently, like, I couldn't even see it. So like, for example, when we made like one of our bigger cash days, we've done it a couple times, but it's like 100K cash day from some of our real estate stuff. I didn't see it. Like, I literally didn't see it. I just heard about it. Like, my wife told me, and I was like, cool. Like, glad to hear. I'm stoked with that. But with a lot of the stuff here, like my own accounts that I've had access to, they kind of have like stayed the same. Like, they kind of stagnate. But the ones that I don't, they're growing, and they're constantly developing and growing, that kind of thing. Because I feel silly saying it, like, but I'm being honest, because those are the ones I had direct control over. And as a result, like, I wasn't okay with seeing them go very big and doing that, because it didn't feel safe. Like, because my background as well is that I feel like most people classically say this, but like, I'm like a middle class background, you could say. But, you know, I always felt like we had good money growing up. I always had everything provided for me, like sports, activities, food, clothing, shelter, water. Never had to worry about any of that stuff. And my parents were always big on our development as well, like getting us into sports. And I'm so grateful. I had like the best upbringing that I could have possibly asked for, I believe. But also, stuff comes with that. And I think that not as many people talk about that when you come from kind of like a normal background. You could say normal, like majority of people, you know, that bell curve, like majority of people sit in that middle portion. The thing is that tends to perpetuate more of that, and just like with most things, but it's like a middle class, if you were to put it that way, background perpetuates more middle class stuff and all of that kind of thing by way of wealth and numbers and that. So that's kind of like where I've been at. Even whilst we've been building these things, these multi-million-dollar businesses and all that, it's something that is just foreign to me. Like, you kind of, and I was comfortable with it for a while because I could dissociate, like remove myself from it. I didn't realize I was doing that at the time, but upon much more reflection now, I'm like, oh wow, that is what I was doing. And now that I'm not dissociating with it as much, I'm like, whoa, okay, there's some stuff that I thought I was good by way of this stuff. Especially because for myself, I feel like I'm a coach. Like, I coach, I teach this stuff, stuff that's related to the mind and to business and to like your self-development and to relationships, all these things. I'm like, and it's weird because you put yourself on this pedestal in a way where you're like, I'm supposed to have all this figured out. But no, that's not the point. The point is not to ever have it all figured out, because we never really do. Like, we have it as figured out as we can at any given moment. But what I can do is share my journey, and like I've been saying, being much more vulnerable and not subconsciously trying to present myself as infallible is really key for doing that, because otherwise it's like you build this thing where you think you've got to be invulnerable and never make mistakes and all this thing, or like never grow. Like you're basically, by putting yourself on that pedestal, or putting myself on that pedestal, sorry, bunked his head, I'm telling myself that I don't need to grow. And if you're not growing, you're dying. You know, we've talked about that even with like the economy of the world, like inflation and that. Inflation is like 7% a year. So if you're not growing financially by 7% a year, you're actually, it's running away from you. So if you're keeping the same number, 7%, is increasing, like cost of living, inflation, all this stuff. So if you're not rising with that, you're actually declining. You're actually stagnating. It just works that way. And yeah, it's one of those things where you don't necessarily realize when it's happening, because it's like the frog in the pot of boiling water. You just, yeah, you're not really ever, you're not fully cognizant, like you're semi-aware, but you're not fully cognizant of the fact that it's happening, you know, but you think that it's safe. So yeah, coming back to the journaling thing, so something that I've been diligent with doing, and like even the last few days I hadn't done it, was like writing how I'm feeling, what's going on, what I have, all the things, and that when I don't feel like I need to. So even with like going to the gym and going to like doing some, like I've been doing some priming work in that in the morning, it's like you can, I mean, if you're not staying proactive with that stuff, you do lose it, and you tend to lose your sense of purpose if you just like rest on, oh, things are going well, you know. So now I still make sure that I've signed up to a new gym, but I run to the gym in the morning. This guy's sleeping here, trying to make it look like I'm not wearing pants, but I run to the gym in the morning. I do like a little bit in the sauna now, and like do a bit of priming in that. Just like set my intentions for the day, things that I'm grateful for, frame things a certain way, to continuously strive and keep growing. And then run back home, do some of this stuff, and just like keep making stuff, keep making content, keep creating, keep doing all this. And yeah, just like making sure, keep training, go do weights later in the day, starting up at another martial arts gym soon. And well, I start up at another martial arts gym anyway. Yeah, just making sure to stay on top of that stuff is really key to living and leading a fulfilling life. Otherwise, you just won't, in my experience, keep doing things to a fulfilling degree. It doesn't feel the same. And yeah, that was a little bit as well about how I feel by way of my financial journey. So something that I'm really enjoying taking on now is that developing my financial literacy, which is something I'm very keen to be, as I learn more of that stuff, to pass on to you guys. Because I'm learning some cool stuff along the way. And like intellectually, I know a lot of these things, like by way of, oh, you know, the system's set up in a certain way, like banks in the system, and like the current financial system uses things in a way where it's like you are set up to fail, because it keeps you to fail, because it keeps you keeping your head just above water, and like it keeps the money turning over in the system. So like you keep, you know, paying your taxes, doing like living. If the system can make it so that you are living week to week, then you will, you just like, you're so worried about survival that you don't actually stop and think about what am I doing to get ahead, or like to build a life that I want. You're just like, I'm just surviving. So it's a pretty intelligent system if you look at it, and a system built to sustain itself by using us that way, which, you know, is what it is. It's like a game. Like, we know that we're playing the game. We can just choose to play it better or do whatever we want to do within that. So, yeah, we don't even fully realize it. So there's a lot of deceptive language and psychology in there, utilized in things like, even like recently I've been looking at the way like banks and credit cards and that are set up, in doing that stuff for myself, and it does make you feel a certain type of way that just makes you naturally act in a way that's not conducive to your long-term goals. Your first instinct is to actually do things that are in alignment with the bank's long-term goals and like them making money off of you, and that's okay. And I feel like that's it's good for me to be able to say that stuff and speak openly about it, because well, I feel a bit silly for not knowing these things, like, and that's a story that I'm telling myself, but I do feel a bit silly sometimes for not understanding this stuff, especially, and this is why I think it's especially important for me to go through it and to share it. I've been wondering why, but because of the fact that I have gotten to a certain status of like, and it's like oxymoronic, you know, like a financially illiterate multimillionaire. Like, what? These things don't make sense. But I feel like someone at my status and that should know these things, but I don't. And that's okay, because I feel like there's a lot of shame around that, which is part of the system, the programming, which, if I can share that with where I'm at now, hopefully that can allow people to realize, and people take it however they want to, that like, oh, he's there and he has like is just learning this stuff now, so it's okay for me to be wherever I'm at now to learn this stuff as well. Like, I don't have to, it's not like I get there and learn that stuff. It's like you have to learn this stuff regardless, or don't, and then whatever happens happens. But that's all for this one. What happened to my left knee, I'm assuming this is actually my right knee because it flips it around, but my right knee, I had an avulsion fracture of the head of my tibia. So what that means is this quad muscle here, this muscle, your thigh muscle, attaches to the shin here, the top of the shin, and basically I had the tendon where it attaches, pull like break the bone and pull it apart. So I kind of had like two kneecaps here. So I had surgery to get that screwed back in, and then a year later I had surgery to get the screws back out. So yeah, that's what happened to this knee, and this knee, I feel like you wouldn't be able to see it, so you wouldn't be asking about it, but I tore my meniscus in this knee when I was in year 12, like the last year of high school. So I had meniscus surgery on that, but it was a keyhole surgery for that one. So I don't even know where the scar is for that, but it's there somewhere. And yeah, that's that. That's all for this one, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I hope it can give you some good insights into just the way things are going now. I actually feel a bit of a weight lifted, because I didn't realize until we started talking about it that I like actually felt a bit silly for like making the original post on this, but it's like I had to do that in order to get to here and face all these things and be really honest about all of this stuff. It's part of my journey as well, is like being okay with actually still making money and building a bigger business, doing this stuff, because I realize now how much impact that has, and how if I were to let that fall off, it's already had so much impact as it is now, and it has the potential for so much more. But if I were to let that fall off just because I'm scared of making more money or like having a bigger impact, then it stops, and that purpose will be given to someone else, and that's fine. But I know that it's what I'm truly called for. And so, you know, I have faith that this is what I'm called for, and I'm going to keep doing it. I'm still doing it. I'm very blessed that I've been able to learn these lessons and not have that purpose taken away from me, because that would really suck. But you know, if it is to be what it is to be, then it is what it is until it isn't what it isn't. And yeah, I've had a lot of fun talking about this stuff, and I'm going on to do some other stuff. So just remember, this is all the art of being man. Embody that, and it'll be all gravy, baby. Bye, 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 bye. Timmy say bye. Timmy say bye. Bye, 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 bye.